Hi guys, did you miss me? Hey guys, what's up? I know it's been a long time, but welcome back to my channel. Boy, have I missed you guys, and boy, do I have some goodies to share with you. I do want to talk about something very interesting that I came across, and it is about a serial killer in Louisiana. Now, this guy's name is Mr. Ronald Joseph Dominique. So, Mr. Ronald Dominique is also known as the Bayou serial killer. This guy was born in 1964 on January 9th, so some of you may share a birthday with him. And he raped 23 people, raped and killed 23 people. So all of his victims did happen to be males, because he himself he was a gay man. So but he was in the closet, he wasn't openly out with it. This guy went on a spree for 9 years, almost 10 years, basically terrorizing Louisiana and terrorizing the people there. And what I mean by that is yes, he had his victims, but those victims had families. What happened over the course of the 9 years is that the police started to find bodies of people that were basically scattered about. And, you know, these bodies were along the road. They were, you know, just on the side of the road. They were floating in bayous. They were, you know, rotting in sugarcane fields. They were in half-buried ditches. I mean, clearly he didn't care, you know, how he disposed of them. I mean, he's crazy. Why would he care? So Mr. Dominique's, he was one of those type of serial killers that when he was younger, he did not show any signs whatsoever of having any type of sociopathy type of behavior that would then develop into something even crazier later in his life. He lived in a small rundown trailer. He was active in school. He spent his free time singing. You know, he basically demonstrated that he was the tip-top, top-notch, I am not a suspect type of individual that, in my opinion, too often slip through the cracks. See, you know, as a society, even though this happened between 96 and I think 2006 or 2005, somewhere around that time, we need to stop thinking that because of the way somebody looks, because of the way how they act, because of the job that they have, that they are this upstanding, you know, stark, amazing citizen. That's just not true. In front of everyone, Mr. Dominique was, you know, like I said, he was this upstanding citizen. But something Mr. Dominique did that people in his community obviously didn't know was he frequently frequented gay bars. Now, when he was in those bars, people that were there immediately noticed how uncomfortable he looked. So, you know, anybody I'm sure can tell just by watching some people, like, wow, they seem really, really out of place. So apparently when he was in the gay bars, he came off as very off-putting and uncomfortable. Most likely it was because he wanted to fit in to that world. And a lot of people, again, didn't know that. A lot of people did not know that Mr. Dominique, behind closed doors, he actually was gay himself. So after a while, people started to notice that this friendly, you know, upscale citizen that everybody believed him to be, he started to kind of lose that. That started to fade. He wasn't as friendly and as nice as he was used to being. And people started to actually notice that he started to lose touch with his more friendly exterior personality. Before he started going on his killing spree, he actually was arrested about 7 or 8 times for really stupid stuff. One thing he was arrested for was he was harassing someone over the phone. A few years later, he was arrested for speeding, you know, driving under the influence, and he was arrested again. He got a fine he was arrested for not paying a fine. He kind of became a hermit. People started to really not notice him anymore, which I'm sure he liked. And I find that to be a little strange, guys, just to back it up for a second. How is it that you live in a trailer park and nobody notices any abnormal types of behavior? I find that to be a little bit odd, that no one noticed you were doing X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I just find that to be odd. But then again, like I said, we live in a society where people want to judge, you know, off of what they think is right. So I'm surprised, but then I'm not really surprised. So then when 1996 came, this was after he had received a DUI. Homeboy finally got arrested for forcible rape. So apparently he coerced some guy into his home and attempted to tie him up. And then when the guy refused to be tied up like some, you know, hog-tied pig, the guy wanted to leave, and Mr. Dominique had the audacity to get an attitude about it because he didn't want to be tied up. You know, he wanted to probably do whatever they was going to do without being tied up. I mean, I hate to say it, but can you blame him with the way society is, with how crazy people are? And plus, he had just met that guy. So what makes you think he's just going to allow you to do something like that? Not everybody is just going to be willing to just do something like that for you. So of course, Mr. Dominique became violent. And this was actually a time when his neighbors actually saw a half-dressed man fly out of his trailer. This was one time where his neighbors, you know, when they wasn't paying attention normally, they paid attention that time, which was good. Because I'm all for bringing down criminals, especially heinous ones like this one. Now, the crazy part about this is that when the time came and it was time for them to go to court, unfortunately, the victim nowhere to be found. And because of that, the charges were dropped. They didn't have any evidence or anything to go off of, really, when the person is saying, hey, they did X, Y, and Z, but they're not showing up. So that was actually very bad, because Ronald looked at that as a way of saying, you know, he's not going to go to jail for whatever he's doing. He can continue doing what he's doing. And that is exactly what this sicko did. So soon after that trial was over, Ronald actually killed his first victim, which was a 19-year-old boy by the name of David Mitchell. Now, what he did with this 19-year-old child, because that is exactly what he was a 19-year-old child. Mr. Ronald Dominique coerced this child into going into his house, okay? He got this 19-year-old to allow him to tie him up, and that was the number one thing he should not have done, because it cost him his life. Ronald Dominique not only killed this child, he actually raped him too and murdered him. After he killed him, he actually dragged his body out to the sugarcane field and just left him there. Just left him there like it was nothing, like he was nothing. But we all know who the POS is in this type of situation. So soon after he dumped David's body there, that is when his 9-year killing spree really began. After Mitchell was killed in 97, that's when the police decided to get in gear and start a task force specifically to figure out what the hell is going on. And another thing, I don't know what the hell is going on with my phone, but people love to text me all hours of the night. I mean, the cops were so serious about this that they got cops from 9 different parishes just to get on top of this, because these bodies were coming up everywhere. They were floating around in the bayous. They were on the side of roads. They were in fields. They could not continue to have this happen in southern Louisiana. It actually had gotten so bad that they, well, without a shadow of a doubt, which I'm not surprised about, they had to get the FBI involved, because with the slew of bodies that were starting to, now the body count, now the bodies are not only being left everywhere, now the body count is rising. So the FBI had no choice but to get involved. Also, with so many of the deaths that were occurring, it became very apparent to the FBI that Mr. Ronald Dominique, he had a type. He had a particular type of victim that he liked, and I do and am interested in, you know, knowing about these types of individuals, because, you know, these types of individuals, they walk around near us every day, you know, so that is what interests me. I want to know what's going on in my country. I want to know what's going on in the world. I want to know these things. He had a type. He targeted homeless men between the ages of 18, 19, all the way up to 40. His type were people that were outcasts that, you know, no one was really checking for, basically. So he also targeted ones that he thought would not be missed. I am using what's left of my Tarte Shape tape right here. As you can see, it is, thank you for focusing. I had to literally scrape what was left out of this thing. I can't find my other concealer. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it, but I will be, you know, touching this up as I'm going and continuing on with this story. And guys, I don't know if you can tell, but I got my lashes done. I have on a classic set of eyelash extensions. You probably can't really tell. But some of the gold actually got on the tips. But to be honest with you, I need more. You know what I mean? I need more. So the foundation I am going to be using, as you guys know, I'm going to be using my D50 Covergirl foundation, and let's get right back into it. I have not did my makeup in months. Yes, it's really bad. Hopefully I don't forget a step, but I don't think so. So he picked up most of his men that he, you know, his victims basically, at gay bars or in areas where, like off-street areas, you know, probably. When I hear of off-street areas, I mean, I think of areas where not a lot of cars go. Yes, I did put a little bit too much foundation, but we're gonna blend this out. Not only did he, you know, show photos of women as a way of luring them, he showed photos of women to men as a tool of luring them. And not only did he say, oh yeah, you know, you could come back to my house and have sex with her and this and that, and she likes this and all this, you know, all the BS that he was basically telling people. He also showed people photos and told people that the woman in that photo was his wife, knowing damn well that it wasn't. Yes, guys, I did. I put way too much foundation, but that's okay, because it's going to give me way good coverage. And when he was telling these men this, they went to his house, you know, I mean, obviously they kind of had their own little issues, because they went to his house thinking that they were going to have sex with this woman or his wife or whoever, you know what I mean? And not one time did they ever consider him a threat. I mean, this guy must have been really charismatic, or these people must have really not been paying attention, because, or they don't care. And you know what? I'm not really surprised, because you have so many people out there in society that they don't care. They don't. And I know people like that. They don't. They do things that are threatening. to their life, to their existence, and they just don't care. So as soon as he got these guys back into his home, this guy who was, you know, so well mannered, you never thought anything of him, he was like, you know, so nice and blase blase, Homeboy flipped the script on them, okay? And all of a sudden turned completely sadistic. He would tie them up, you know, he would rape them, and obviously he would kill them. So Mr. Dominique never had any intention whatsoever to let any of his 23 victims go, until one time he let one of his victims go, and that is what started to set Ish off. Okay, so almost 10 years after this guy went on this, you know, killing spree, obviously, one of the guys that he, you know, had in his house, he didn't kill him. I would assume they had sex. I don't know exactly the details, but he let him go. Well, this guy happened to be on parole. So he mentioned to his parole officer, hey, you know, I was at this guy's house and X, Y, and Z happened. And to a regular normal person, they're going to look at you sideways like, what? Especially a police officer. A police officer is always gonna, you know, look at you sideways like, what do you mean? And this is one thing I don't really like about shimmers, is that they always go up. Parole officer became suspicious. It was literally a matter of time until the cops went and arrested him, you know? And of course, once he was in police custody, he was just never a problem, very cooperative, you know. And I feel too that some people, they just know how to play the system. They know what to say, they know what to do, they know how to act. He wasn't caught until 2006, and from what, 97 all the way to 2006, he was just murdering people left and right, basically. So of course they ended up taking his DNA, and they matched his DNA with one of the crime scenes. And the DNA ended up coming back as a match. He was connected to at least 2 of the murders. So when that happened, Homeboy, he croaked. You know, he pretty much croaked. He started singing like a bird. He told the officers, you know, sorry guys, this happens every time I open my powder. I guess he just felt defeated. Like, what's the point? I'm already going to jail with these 2 murders that they done, you know, got me on. So he just started singing like a bird. The cops even asked him, you know, why did you graduate from raping these men to actually murdering them? And it seemed as though every single time they asked him something, he had an answer for it. He had a legitimate answer as to why he was doing everything that he was doing. So when they asked him, you know, why did you go from raping to killing them? And guess what his response was? Homeboy was scared to go to jail. He did not want to go to jail for raping these men. So he decides that it's smarter to kill them. I mean, as many as 30 of the victims' families actually came to court. You know, of course they yelled things along the lines of, you're gonna burn in hell. I know that the brother of David Mitchell, the 19-year-old, he yelled and said, and this is kind of really sad, but he said, you know, when we found my brother in that sugarcane field, we had to bury bones. There was nothing left of him. We had to bury bones. That was what was left of my brother. So then when September 23rd, 2008 came around, he thought that he had everything figured out. You know, he figures, okay, well, I'm going to admit to these things so that he can avoid getting the death penalty, which is kind of strange, because if you avoid getting the death penalty, you're gonna go to jail, which is your ultimate fear. Or did I miss something? So in September of 2008, he got 8 consecutive life sentences. So His worst fear actually did come true. He is serving those sentences at Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola, where he will remain there for the remainder of his life. He has life in prison. So to wrap up this look, I will be using the Giovanni. This is the, if it will focus, there we go. Giovanni Facial Prime and Setting Mist. I didn't spray this on my face. Smells good. I did not spray this on my face as a primer, but let's see how it does as a facial setter. And I know I went a little overboard.